Hi guys, welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you're one of my 5 subscribers. It's been a while, it's been months since my first video, but I'm also a senior in high school and I'm graduating in less than a month, so it's been a little bit busy, but I'm back. I read Our Infinite Fates. I got my copy from Book of the Month. I'm gonna be giving you my review today. My last video was pretty long. It was around half an hour or so, and it was really difficult to upload for no reason, so I'm gonna try to keep this one a little bit shorter. Hopefully. I'm a bit of a yapper sometimes, so sorry if it's just as long. I'm back with my notebook. I wrote notes in it to talk about. I'm just gonna start reading the summary in the book. Evelyn can remember all her past lives. She can also remember that in every single one, she's been murdered before her 18th birthday by Arden, a supernatural being linked to her soul. The problem is that she's quite fond of the life she's in now, and her little sister needs her in order to stay alive. If Evelyn wants to save her sister, she'll have to find the centuries-old devil who hunts her through each life before they find her first, figure out why she's being hunted, and finally break their curse, and try not to fall in love again. The falling in love thing would not be very difficult for me, because I just wouldn't love somebody who killed me, but whatever. Let's get into it. The first thing that I'm going to talk about is the plot. I think it had a super interesting premise and kind of a unique take on reincarnation. I also liked how the chapters alternated between like their current lives and their past lives, so you could actually, see what it used to be like and not just like have them remember their past lives and everything. I also liked how they handled reincarnation, how it was like actually their souls that were rebirthed and not their bodies. So in some lives, they would both be men, sometimes both women, sometimes, either one. It doesn't really matter. So I thought that was good, and it also added to the LGBTQ aspect of it, which I got this copy from Book of the Month, and on the app it kind of shows like some categories that the book falls under, and it said something about like it was like LGBTQ or like had that storyline or whatever. And looking, when I read the summary, I saw the name Evelyn and I saw the name Arden, and the only Arden I know and I've ever heard of is a girl. So I was like, okay, it's gonna be 2 girls, they're in love. No, them in this life was a man and a woman. They did kind of mention, they had a little conversation where they talked about it, and Evelyn said that she felt like she identified more as a woman, and I think Arden said that he was kind of in between, like neither one, but in their current lifetime they refer to him using he him pronouns. So the main conflict in this current life for Evelyn is that her sister Gracie has leukemia. She needs some like stem cells or tissues that matches with Evelyn to help her, and the stem cell procedure is cutting it super close to Evelyn's 18th birthday, which is when she's gonna die. That's why she really needs to stay alive, and that's essentially the plot. I don't know, she's like really stressed out he's gonna kill her before her 18th birthday, because it's not always like exactly on the 18th, it's just around that time and it's coming up, so she's freaked out about that. But she can't just explain the situation to Arden because he's apparently super frustrating and is always like acting on this bigger purpose, because he remembers every single one of their past lives and also how they wound up in this situation, whereas Evelyn she forgets some of her past lives the more time goes on, just because it's like years and years and years ago. So there's that kind of imbalance of she doesn't really know the whole situation and he does, and every time they meet she always asks him, why is this happening, why are you doing this, why are we stuck like this? She like begs to know, and every time he's just like, I can't tell you, I can't, it would hurt you too much, I just can't tell you, you just have to trust me on this, I just have to kill you. So that's basically a repeating conversation throughout all of their lives. And I didn't really see what the huge deal was about it when it was revealed. And like, that was why you couldn't tell Evelyn, because it would hurt her too much. I feel like the author kind of made it into a bigger deal than it needed to be, just so it could act as like a catalyst for the climax of the story. Basically, spoiler alert, the reason that they're in this whole situation and deal is that Evelyn is actually a devil, but she like sucks. She's so bad. She messed up a deal, her first ever deal, which was with Arden years and years and years ago. And he got mad because like the deal wasn't done correctly and he killed her. But he died too because their souls were like marked together. And then once that's all revealed, Evelyn has the idea to go down into the underrealm to kill the mother, which is basically like the devil, the main one, and stop the curse. It just felt very anticlimactic because of him constantly telling her, being like, oh, I can't tell you that, it would hurt you too much, like just trust me, I'm doing what's best. And that was it. It felt like it was just done to kind of stop the story from ending right there and then, like right at the beginning. I don't want to spoil too much about what happens because I kind of went over everything in my last review. I don't want to do that this time. So that's about as much as I'll say of the kind of series of events. But I was so frustrated by Arden's character constantly being like, I can't tell you, just trust me, that when it finally was revealed, it was just a bit underwhelming. The second thing I'm going to talk about is the romance, because it is technically a romantasy, but I found it to be a bit lacking. I think there was a lot of telling rather than showing that they were in love. I don't quite understand how you'd fall in love with somebody who killed you over and over again, and I never get to find out because it doesn't really explain in the story. It kind of just tells you that they're in love a bunch of times instead of showing it how it like really developed. It does show like moments of love between them where they obviously have those feelings for each other, but it never shows like how it really gets to that point, you know? So the romance just felt a bit flat and not something that I could really connect with, sympathize, or root for in the end, because I didn't really care about their relation. I didn't really care if the two of them stayed together after everything. It just, because I couldn't connect to it. I did, however, connect a lot with Evelyn and her feelings towards her current and her past families, and kind of that sense of anticipatory grief with knowing that she is going to die and lose them, because that's what she's been doing in every lifetime. That had much more of an emotional impact, I think, on me. And also when there was a moment when she visited a mom that was still alive, that had been her mom in a past life, I think the moments when she was kind of with and remembering her families and the lives that she's led with them, I think that was a lot more meaningful to me. I think that was like probably some of the most meaningful moments in the book. Honestly, I think the author could have done completely without the romance for me, unless you're happy and satisfied with just being told that they're in love over and over again rather than feeling it. And then the third and last thing I'm going to talk about, because I'm keeping it kind of short, is the ending. I'm not spoiling exactly what happens at the end, but it's also a bit because I don't really understand. I don't understand really what or why it happened. The whole ending fighting scene was a bit confusing to me, and overall, I just didn't like the ending. It was pretty open-ended, which I personally am not the huge fan of. Maybe some people might find it a bit romantic. Maybe some of them might feel like, oh, it just shows that like it was all fate, you know. I just didn't like it that much. It wasn't for me. That's fine. to each their own. I think overall, though, it was a pretty interesting book. It had an interesting concept. I finished it all in one night. It took me about like 6 hours maybe. It wasn't too deep or difficult to get through. So it was a nice read, but I don't really see myself wanting to reread it anytime soon. So I'd give this about 3 out of 5 stars. It just wasn't for me, but I think that you should definitely check it out yourselves and give it a try and come to your own conclusion. That's just my opinion of it, so feel free to think whatever you think. That's all that I have today for this review. This is almost half of the length of my other video, so I'm kind of proud of myself for that. I kept it short. If you made it to the end, thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and smash that subscribe button. And also let me know if you read the book, what you think, or what other books you'd like me to read next.